The Penny Arcade Expo, or PAX, is a gaming event that happens across the world every year. It's a gaming convention that truly means gaming. While other conventions typically have a lot of booths that are dedicated to merch and a giant artist alley, PAX is specialized and catered to video game demos and tabletop games. Now, I've been going to PAX now for about a decade, and I have enjoyed every year that I've gone. And there's always been one thing that all my friends have always told me whenever I go. Hey, you should do a panel. For those who don't know, panels are these almost TED Talks where you go on stage and present things to people. They can be almost about, well, anything, but they have to be approved beforehand by PAX, and of course, well, they have to be interesting. Now, since I make informative content like this all the time, it seemed only natural that I would be fine to present this information in front of a large group of people, right? No. Absolutely not. I still am a very nervous person when I'm in front of a lot of people. I know we are approaching 100K subs, but still, it terrifies me to be in front of a large group of people that are all looking at me. But last year, I had started planning to pitch a panel to PAX East to see if they were interested, but I didn't really have a concrete idea. My friend Katie tried to help me out with some ideas, but nothing that I was coming up with was confidently sticking. And after waffling one idea around, I had the panel form all filled up and ready to submit. But I don't know, I wanted to polish the idea. Maybe get some feedback, ask some questions, or maybe, yeah, I waffled around so much, I actually missed the entire deadline, which honestly was probably a blessing in disguise because my idea wasn't as solid as I'd like. But this year, I was determined to at least submit and try again. I didn't want to do anything that was too complicated because this was my very first panel. I'd rather do something with a difficulty of a 3 or 4 with an execution of a 9 or 10 than, well, the other way around. So I decided to talk on something that you guys know very well that I talk about a lot, which is Spyro. And so I came down to 2 ideas: a Spyro 4 speculative journey or the history of Spyro. I knew the history of Spyro was safer, but I also knew that the Spyro 4 panel would be a lot more risky. So I decided to do the history of Spyro, which I officially titled From Pete to Spyro, The Legend of Spyro the Dragon. So I typed up my panel submission, my pitch, and this time I actually clicked submit. Now, to be clear, a lot of panels do not get approved, and I saw this whole experience as a learning experience because I knew that if I was shot down or denied, I potentially could ask what I could do to improve the presentation for the following year. Maybe this was good practice for me to be able to come up with ideas for a panel if this one didn't get approved. Except that didn't happen. I got accepted. I genuinely did not expect to be accepted. This was my first time ever trying to apply for a panel. Not only that, I got a 12:30 p.m. slot on Sunday after I celebrated with my wife and my friends, letting them all know that I now have a live panel. Creeping doom came over me. I now have to actually make this thing. So I started by blocking out the segments, what I wanted to talk about, and how long each chunk would be. Now, if you don't know me, I am a talker. I could talk to a rock for 3 hours about absolutely nothing. And I only had one singular hour to do a history on a hyper focus of mine, which was Spyro. And for me, that amount of time became a significant challenge. I have live streams where I've ranted and raved about Spyro for 4+ hours. As I broke down the presentation, I realized that I did not have enough time to cover every single game. So I had to shorten and make cuts. Once I was happy, I began making the slides on Google Slides, which actually did cause a significant problem in the future, and we'll get back to that. Then, as I do, I got distracted. I had to get some other videos done, I had some other projects, and then I had to sort through some family issues, and then there was some sicknesses, and before I knew it, we were 1 week from the panel, and my presentation wasn't even close to done. So I finished up my most recent Spyro 4 video before I left for PAX and began to work on my presentation. I worked on those slides for days, winding down the clock to the wee hours in the morning, practicing and timing each segment to make sure I was on time. I had no script, but I had checkpoints in my head as to what I needed to say and tied it to the slides. Finally, I did a lonely dry run for the whole presentation in my kitchen at about midnight of the day I was flying out. For this specific trip to PAX, I was joined by my college best friend, Josh. This was his first convention, and he has plenty of camera experience and helped me a lot. So a big shout out to Josh for all the camera work and photos that he took. Now, my friends and I met at the B&B, we hung out, then we went to PAX for the couple of days. I cosplayed for the first time in, I think, almost a decade. We all had a great time. It was so much fun. But during the whole trip, this presentation was looming over my mind. Now, I knew my panel was in the Bumblebee Theater, and I had asked the friendly staff beforehand at the theater if I could actually record my panel or have it professionally recorded. They initially did not know if it was possible and told me to come back on the day of my panel to ask again. And Katie, who has been a lovely assistant and has been basically my producer on this whole PAX journey, was also suggesting for me to do a practice run with everybody and all my friends at the B&B. I agreed, but in my typical fashion, I did it the night before the panel. Yeah, I did it on Saturday night. And after I was done, I felt mostly good. My friends all felt the same, saying that, yeah, it was good. But Katie, while enjoying the panel, also mentioned that there were moments that didn't feel like me. See, when I'm home behind the camera, I can come alive and be me. It's just me in this room. There's no one looking at me. But she thought that in front of everyone, I sounded more nervous. And that kind of hid my personality. And you know what? That was completely true, because I was nervous. I also was told by everyone that my ending was quite abrupt, my transitions between subjects needed smoothing, and that I should have mentioned something about Malifor. At this point, I was happy, but I was tired, it was late, and I knew that I had to get up super early to be able to get to the con early to chat about my panel. So Sunday came and we raced to the convention early because I still didn't know. Could I get this panel recorded for the channel? It was something that I knew a lot of people had asked and wanted beforehand, but I was unsure if it was even possible. So I approached the nice employees once more at PAX and found out some interesting details. The long and short of it, yes, I could get it recorded and posted on my channel, but I needed a USB stick. My heart sank because I forgot to pack a USB stick and an external hard drive for the whole trip. Not only that, I only had 2 hours to add the few more slides and to rearrange things and smooth out my transitions before the presentation even started. I checked my bag just to make sure, and yep, I was dumb and I forgot a USB stick. I ran to my friends who were in the cosplay room, and one of the lovely people running it actually suggested, hey, SanDisk is here, maybe they would be selling some USB sticks. So I ran to the con floor and asked SanDisk, and they had no USB sticks. So I ran to Lexar asking again. They also had none. And at this point, I was ready to give up on the concept of recording the panel because I was just running out of time. Now, I want to take a second here and mention a very specific moment. I know some people may find it silly, but I gotta mention it because if you don't know, I am a Christian, I am a God-fearing man, and I truly believe that he genuinely helped me in this moment. I placed my bag down one more time and checked everywhere once again, just to make sure, just to eliminate the process out of my brain that I did not have any sticks. And on one of my side pockets, I reached in and felt something, and I pulled out a 16 gigabyte USB stick. I haven't touched or used this bag in years, and somehow there was a USB stick that was also the perfect size for today. Now, I do need to clearly mention, I have seen this USB stick before. I knew that I've bought it in the past, but what was on it? And did it even work? I had no idea. So I raced back to the media room, placed the USB stick into my laptop, and it worked. But the burning question that I had, what was this from? Well, I found out. It was from 2018. Specifically, it was when I went to my trip to Toys for Bob to playtest Spyro Reignited Trilogy and interview multiple developers. You can even see here the file name of Toys for Bob Dino Mines. You want to talk about a full circle? Because there it was. So, with an hour left, 1 hour, I quickly made the new slides and made a new ending for the presentation and walked in for my tech demo. But the roller coaster ride wasn't exactly finished. It turns out the laptop that you guys helped raise money for me that I bought specifically for this presentation and of course for work and stuff was too new. That's right, it was too new. The graphics card and their system were not really working nicely together and were not compatible, and they could not initially get the presentation working. I began to panic. We were literally starting in 5 minutes, and my laptop would not project onto their system. Luckily, the AV guys decided to throw the presentation onto a backup and basically gave me a big clicker. So my laptop essentially became a preview window, and the big screen was what everyone could see. And we were about 30 seconds from presenting. By the time the clicker was put into my hand, they made the 30-second call that the doors were opening. And then came the final anxiety attack that hit me hard. The biggest nightmare that I've had since I saw the words "your panel was approved" was a simple, small issue. What if no one showed up? What if it was just me, my friends, in a giant empty open room? I had just presented in front of my friends the night before. Maybe that's kind of why I was nervous to do it, because now if no one showed up, I would have to subject them to the presentation again. And I know it's irrational. I get it. And it's silly. And all my friends say it's ridiculous. I get it. But that's just what went through my mind as I sat there, as the 30 seconds started to count down before the doors opened. Now, if 20 people, maybe even 30 people showed up, I would have been happy. I just didn't want a big open room. And so when they gave the thumbs up that the doors were opening, I could only hold my breath.
So before we begin, I got a quick question. Who do you like Spyro?
The turnout was perfect. About 50 plus people showed up. That was incredible. As I said, I would have been happy with 20 or 30. 50 plus? And we even had someone dressed up as Spyro. And a huge shout out again to Katie, who decided to cosplay as Ripto for the day of the panel and was actually interacting with the crowd before they actually entered into the panel itself. The presentation went mostly flawless. Because of Google Drive and its weird permissions, when it got sent to the backup, my slides and images and GIFs were fine, but the video clips, which were about 4 or 5, sadly could not play. However, It may have been a blessing in disguise because I only had 7 minutes to spare when I finished my presentation, which gave us just enough time for questions. And after all the questions were answered, we finished with 30 seconds to spare. Afterwards, so many people approached to talk to me in front of the theater. They were taking photos and we were hanging out and we were talking about childhood memories, and there were actually even fans of the channel who were there. And a huge shout out I gotta say to Sean, who actually gave me a whole pile of 3D printed gifts that he made of Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon. Again, they were incredible, so thank you, Sean. When I was done, my friends, every single one of them were there, and they were just so kind. Genuinely, without them, I would not have been able to do this panel. So a huge shout out to Katie, Mystic, Jay, Evan, Shoop, Lore of the Dragon, Spyro Universe, Josh, Acid Monkey Cart, and Ivan. Thank you all so much for supporting me and helping me get to this point. And thank you for helping and supporting me getting to PAX in the first place. Now, if you actually want to check out the full panel, you can check it out right here. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.